Hi everyone. Today we're going to be doing lesson 713, which is displaying insect data. The objective today is to record data on a line plot and answer questions regarding the data. So I'm going to go ahead and click on your screen. And what we're going to do, we're not going to do mental math and fluency or the math message. Insect data is going to be something that you might have to do on your own because it does involve measuring different insects and using a ruler. And that's not something that I can really do with you, so that you can do on your own if time allows for when you're all finished. But I do want to just take you through a quick refresher on how to read the ruler. So in between my 0 and my 1, I have eighths. So from 0 to this first tick mark is 1/8. And then to the next one, here's 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, and this one's a little bit longer. If you can tell, it's our halfway mark, which makes sense because it's 4/8, and 4/8 means half. Then we have 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and when I get to my 1 whole inch, that's 8/8, which makes sense because 8/8 equals 1 whole, and in this case, we're talking about 1 whole inch. And then if I go beyond 1 whole inch, this is my 1/8 again. It would be 1 and 1/8. This would be 1 and 2/8, 1 and 3/8, 1 and 4/8, and so on. So if I want to focus on this tick mark right here, I would name this measure 2 and 1, 2, 3/8, 2 whole and 3/8. So that was just a quick refresher on how to use the ruler. And if you have your journal at home, then you have pages in your journal. Let's see, these are pages on 266, 265, 264, where you're going to find those insects and you're going to do your line plot. So you can do it right in your journal. If you need to measure on the screen and if you can cut out those rulers, if you have a ruler, then do that. If you don't have the capability of doing that, don't worry about it because we're going to do other things in this lesson that go along with our objective. So here's some of our insects that you can measure. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. We don't want to forget about our American cockroach and our red-legged grasshopper. I'm going to go down a little bit more. Here's some of our other insects that you can measure. Remember, we're measuring to the nearest eighth. And here's our insects towards the bottom. And if you're working in your journal, then after you get your measures, you're going to write them in and create a line plot using all of your data. So that's what you're going to do. So I'm going to take you back. And after you did all of your measuring, I do have the answers for you. So if you're going to go and do that, then pause the program, go measure, go put in all your answers. And then when you finish, then you can check your answers. But I'm going to reveal them. So if you're not ready, make sure you pause. Here are the measures for the insects. And if you have something different, then just go back and just measure it again. Remember that a ruler is a two-hand tool, so we need to be precise. And here is what your line plot could look like. All right, so we're going to move on because there is an activity that I'd like to do with you. And I want you to go all the way to slide 10, which is called dog walking distances. This is what I want to do with you. So we are going to take a look at all of these distances, all of our measurements, and we're going to plot them on our line plot, and then we're going to answer questions about what we did. Follow along with me. Dog walking distances. Corey has a dog walking business. She kept track of how many miles she walked each day for 2 weeks. And here are my measures. And now I need to plot Corey's data on the line plot below. So they gave us a line for the title. So think about what an appropriate title would be for this data. And you can go ahead and write your title in. And I'm just going to write lengths of Corey's walks. And you can write what I wrote, or you can write something else. Lengths of Corey's walks. And they're measured in miles. So on this line down here, I'm going to label that with my unit, which is miles. So that means, oh, that's not where I wanted it. I want to put this, please pardon my trying to move that around. I wanted that down here, right on that line. So that's my label, and that is my unit. Now I want to take all of my distances, and I'm going to start with my largest amount is 1 whole mile. So I'm going to put my 1 right here at the end, and these are going to be in eighths. So if my 1 is really 8/8, just like on my ruler, then this one here would be 7/8. And you can go ahead and label these with me. 7/8. This one, and I'm counting back, this would be 6/8. This would be 5/8. Whoops, please pardon my writing. 4/8. Whoops, I apologize. This is 2/8. This would be 1/8. And that would be 0. And now I want to go and plot my data. So let's see. I don't have any zeros up here. I'm looking to see any 1/8. Here's my 1/8 here, and I like to cross it out so I know that I used it. Remember, when we're making a line plot, we use X's to represent our data. 2/8, I don't see. 3/8, I have 1, 2, 3. So I want 3 X's above my 3/8. 1, 2, 3. And I think it might be easier to use my line tool. 4/8, I see 1, 2, 3. So I want 3 X's again. Here's 1, 2, 3. 3 X's above 4/8. How about 5/8? Here I see 1, 2, 3, 4 above 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here I have 6/8. I don't see any 7/8. I see 2, 1 whole, which would be 8/8. So I need 2 here. And this is what my line plot looks like. I've got my title. All my data has been plotted. All my fractions have been crossed out, so I know they're all in here. And I have all my fractions labeled, and my unit is labeled. So now I need to go and answer my questions. What is the furthest she walked in 1 day? So I want the number here that is the furthest. Well, this is 0 miles. I know that's not far. The furthest amount would be my largest number down here. So what do you think it would be? Did you say it would be 1? Because that was my largest number of miles, 1 mile. My smallest amount is 0 miles. All right, let's take a look at number 3. What is the shortest distance she walked in 1 day? And the shortest distance she walked in 1 day would be the smallest number, but It's not 0 because she never walked 0 miles. So what would it be if it's not 0? Did you say 1/8? Remember, we always want to make sure that we're using the numbers where we have data. All right, let's take a look at number 4. How many times did she walk 2/8 of a mile? So go figure that out. How many times did she walk 2/8 of a mile? Well, here's 2/8, and there's no data above 2/8. That means 0 times. She never walked 2/8 of a mile. Okay, what is the distance she walked most often? So now I'm looking for the one where I have the most X's. So which is the length that she walked most often? Did you say this one right here? You should have said 5/8. 5/8 of a mile. All right. Number 6. How far did she walk all together? Let's see. All together on days that she walked less than a half a mile. All right. So let me go see. Let me find those days where she walked less than a half a mile. Well, which one of my fractions here represents half a mile? Hopefully you said that 4/8 was our half a mile, but I want to know how far she walked all together on the days she walked less than a half a mile. So that would be all of these in here. And I need to know all together. And I have 1/8, 3/8, 3/8, 3/8. So what do you think we need to do to figure that out? Yeah, we need to add all of those together. I don't need to add all the X's together. I need to add those amounts together, which means I need to add 1/8, and I'm going to go and type these up here. I need to add 1/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8. 1/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8 plus 3/8. So why don't you go and figure that out? Did you guys get 10/8? Did anybody get something different than 10/8? Because 10/8 is right, but it's also an improper fraction, which means I can change it to a mixed number. 10/8 is also equivalent to 1 whole, because I went over the whole, and I went over the whole by 2/8. So you could have gotten 10/8 or 1 and 2/8. All right, let's take a look at number 7. How many times did she walk 5/8 of a mile? So let's go find 5/8. Well, here's 5/8, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 times she walked 5/8 of a mile. And now let's look at number 8. What is her total distance? So this is reminding me, it's kind of reminding me of number 6, because number 6, I was also looking for a total distance. What is her total distance on the days she walked 5/8 of a mile? Let's go back up and look at that. 5/8 of a mile, she walked 4 times, which means I must want 4 times that amount. So that sounds like multiplying a whole number times a fraction. I want 4 of my 5/8. 4 times 5/8. Or you can do repeated addition. You can do 5/8 plus 5/8 plus 5/8 plus 5/8. So I can do that, or I can do this. I can do 5/8 plus 5/8 plus 5/8 plus 5/8. So do one of these ways, or if you have time, do both, and let's see what we get for our answer. Did anybody get 28ths? 28ths is a great answer, and it's right. And I get that by multiplying my whole number times my numerator and leaving my denominator the same, or I add just my numerators and leave my denominator the same. But 28ths is an improper fraction. So I can change my improper fraction, and if I change my improper fraction, I end up with, well, you go and try it first. Or I could have gotten 2 and 4/8, 2 whole and 4/8, which is also equivalent to 2 and 1/2. So that's an example of how we would create a line plot and then answer questions about our line plot. So one other thing that I would like for you to do today is the home link, because the home link is so similar to what we just did. So here's our home link for today. You have a lot more numbers, but it's the exact same skill that you're going to be doing. You've got these numbers that you're going to be using, and you're going to create a line plot. And then you're going to answer these questions. So I'm just going to leave this screen up for a little bit so you can see it. And here's some other questions about the line plot, and they're really similar to the ones that we just practiced. And here's some practice problems for you. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to your home link. And you can do your line plot right underneath, and they already give you the line to do that. So go ahead and do that either in your program, or you can do that in your, well, you don't have your journal, but you can do it in a notebook. And you can also do your math boxes today. Your math boxes, you have 5 screens, so you can go ahead and do those. And you also have fraction, multiplication, top it that you can play. And you've got the materials in here, you've got the directions in the activity kit, and you have your cards so you can go ahead and play that game today. If you're having trouble with your line plot, something else that you could do is go back to your tutorial videos. There is a tutorial video that will just do a very quick refresher on how to put fractions on a number line. So I hope, boys and girls, that you understood how to do this. Good luck with it. And again, use the Sketchpad activities and the tutorial videos, and go back to the problems that we did together as many times as you need to. All right, good luck, boys and girls.